Hello, I'm AD Hobbs, and this is my review of Supergirl. There's a bit of visual aid here, yep, Supergirl. And a comic book since the 1950s, I believe. Yeah, and there's different versions of Supergirl there. Yes, this is a review of Supergirl, the 1984 movie. Yes, you have to be specific now, because there are many different versions of Supergirl. I first saw Supergirl, I think I was about 7.5. I saw the movie on TV. And loved it. Thought it was amazing, brilliant. I thought it was a cool idea. Yes, a female version of Superman. Yeah, a great story, really gripping action sequences, everything. Yeah. Then I saw it again when I was 16. And what did I think of it when I was 16? Well, unimpressed by the cheesy acting. Yeah, the special effects still held up quite well, but really corny dialogue, really cringeworthy, awful jokes. You know. And so, in other words, you do really need to be a child to see the movie Supergirl, and then you enjoy it for nostalgic reasons afterwards, yeah. But Supergirl's not all bad. No, some comic book fans say it's the worst superhero movie ever. I disagree, no. I think Supergirl the movie is very suave and sophisticated and decent, compared to the Batman and Robin movie, yes. It's better than the Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie, and it's better than the Catwoman movie, yes. So yes, Supergirl is not the worst superhero movie ever. No, definitely not, no. I believe it was the first ever female superhero to be on the big screen, so yeah, that's a big deal, yeah. And there's some cringeworthy, awful performances. Who gives these terrible performances? Is it the new up-and-coming unknown actors? No, it's from two of the really well-established stars, Faye Dunaway and Peter Cook. They had, like 20 years acting experience, and they give terrible performances. Really bad jokes, really cheesy acting. It's very campy and pantomime-like, Why is this? Well, Supergirl released in 1984. It took about a year to make, so when the Soulkind started making it, Superman 3 hadn't been released yet. And Superman 3, as we all know, lots of silly, cheesy jokes. And the Soulkinds believe this is the new direction the franchise should take. This is what the people are going to want. Maybe if they'd started making Supergirl after Superman 3 had been released and saw the bad reviews of it, maybe that they would have thought differently, yeah. And why is it such cheesy jokes? And why is it that the villains have such bad acting? Is it to appeal to children? Is the target audience for this film kids? And if the target audience is children, what's the point of having Peter Cook and Faye Dunaway in it then? Little kids won't know who they are. No, they were genuinely famous in the 60s and 70s, but not in the 80s. So yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, yeah. Something else that doesn't make sense, the glowing ball, the Omega Hedron, made by Kryptonians, it can do absolutely anything. Literally anything. It can make a living insect materialise out of thin air. It can make a huge mountain materialise in the middle of a town. It can do anything, So there's no limitations to the Omega Hedron. No science issues. It's not really science fiction. It's more like a fantasy film, yeah. And, another reason the Soulkinds did the Supergirl movie is, well, that they own the right. But also, after doing 3 Superman films, Christopher Reeve announced he's not doing any more. So they thought, well, to make money with the franchise, we'll do a Supergirl movie. Originally, Christopher Reeve was meant to be in this film. He'd be like Supergirl's mentor, train her how to use her powers. But he refused to be in it, so Supergirl just works out how to use her powers on her own, basically. Yeah, okay, fair enough, yeah. And they do things to make the Supergirl character a bit different. When she's flying, she steers with one hand, like that, instead of 2 hands. Her beams from her eyes can destroy things, like Superman. They can also make a flower bloom. Okay, yeah. And when she first learns how to fly, sort of walking on the air, she sort of moves gracefully like a ballerina, sort of more girl-like, more feminine, yeah. And the other difference, of course, is she's never been to Earth before. She wasn't raised on planet Earth, so she's like a fish out of water, doesn't fully understand the customs and everything. So, yes, unlike Superman, yeah, to make her a bit different. In the opening sequence of the Supergirl movie, we see Argo City, which is like a kind of space station, yeah. And lots of Kryptonians living in it, including Kara, Superman's cousin. Why did she need to be his cousin? Yeah, the story would have worked just as well if she wasn't related, well, to make it connected to the Superman franchise. It doesn't specify how they're all alive. In the Superman movies, Krypton is destroyed. Superman is the only survivor. How can all these Kryptonians be alive? It doesn't specify in the film. It does, however, specify in the storybook version of the film for kids, yeah. Basically, when Krypton exploded, a big chunk of the planet, part of it was still intact. And inside were some survivors, Kryptonians, but they got stuck in some sort of void. They're in inner space, you know, they're trapped in a void and can't get out. Or can they? Basically, the Omega Hedron, a ball that glows, a great power source. Zoltar, who's like Kara's mentor, the Supergirl's mentor, together they accidentally lose the Omega Hedron. It goes whizzing through the vacuum and it accidentally lands on Earth. So, to get it back, Kara feels it's her responsibility, gets in the binary chute like a really advanced spaceship and whizzes through the void to go and get the orb back. Now, Zoltar feels guilty about what he did and sentences himself to the Phantom Zone. There's just one thing though. If Argo City has technology so advanced it can send people to the Phantom Zone, why don't they just send everyone to the Phantom Zone? Yeah, at least they'd be alive, at least they'd survive. The Phantom Zone's a horrible place to be, but at least they'd survive there. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Now wait a minute. Before they even lost the Omega Hedron, the Omega Hedron can make anything materialise out of thin air. So why don't they just use it to make a whole load of spaceships, evacuate the whole place and go and live on a planet that's nice to live on? Yeah, why don't they do that? Yes, why are they reluctant to ever leave Argo City? That doesn't make sense, yeah. Anyway, the point is, to make it different from the Superman movies, Superman lives on Earth. He's there to stay. Supergirl is just visiting Earth. She comes here, she's on an urgent mission. She's got to get that Omega Hedron, the glowing ball, back. If she doesn't get it within a few days, all her people will die, suffocate, the air will disappear inside Argo City. So it's to save the lives of her people. When she gets to planet Earth, okay, one of the first things she does is learn how to fly, use her powers, yeah. Then she doesn't change her costume when she wears Earth clothes. No, her costume changes. Her clothes can morph into regular Earth clothes. So that's a nifty trick. It saves a lot of time, yeah. Anyway, she goes to, I think it's like a high school for rich schoolgirls, so teenage girls. And so she goes to school. Wait a minute, I thought you were on an urgent mission. You've got to find this Omega Hedron now, otherwise if you're too late, all your people are going to die. You haven't got time to have fun and learn things at school. Yeah, you're on an urgent mission. Well, it's to make it more in tune with the comic books, yes, and also because she needs to learn more about Earth culture, Earth customs. What does she learn from this posh school about how to get her Omega Hedron? Nothing. She learns nothing from Earth customs to help her, yeah. There is this, though, however. She does fly in the sky searching for the Omega Hedron, and but I think they make some sort of rule that she's got this bracelet that's like a detector that can help her find the Omega Hedron, but it can only help her find the Omega Hedron when it's being used, when it's in working order. Okay, fair enough. That explains why she took so long to find the damn thing. However, there is a bit in the film when she's in a maths lesson. The mathematics teacher is giving a really difficult equation for her to figure out, and the Omega Hedron is working. It is literally, yeah, she could, with her X-ray vision, sees through the walls and sees somebody in a car on the school grounds with the Omega Hedron. Well, go and get it right now. Save your people now. Now's a good time, yes. She doesn't go and get it because the maths teacher says, stay where you are. We've got to finish the lesson. That's not a good reason to not go and get it. That's pathetic. People's lives are at stake, but you don't want to upset the maths teacher. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it is. The whole movie is done in quite a cheesy, silly style, and it doesn't seem to be able to make its mind up. Is this a serious action movie or is it a comedy? It seems a bit blurred as to which one it wants to be. Yeah. Okay, Supergirl. The big villain is Selina, played by Faye Dunaway. It makes sense, a female hero, so we need a female villain. And a lot of plot conveniences in this story, yeah. Linda Lee, the alter ego of Supergirl, makes friends with Lucy Lane. Lucy Lane is Lois Lane's sister, to connect it to the Superman franchise. And as if that wasn't enough, Lucy Lane is dating Jimmy Olsen. What's Jimmy Olsen doing here? I thought he lived in Metropolis. We're in Midvale. But anyway, yeah, all these connections, it's very plot convenient, it's very contrived. Oh, to make up for the lack of Christopher Reeve being in the film, yeah. Another plot convenience is Nigel is the boyfriend of Selina, the nemesis of Supergirl, and Nigel also happens to be Supergirl's maths teacher. Oh, what a coincidence! How contrived, yeah. Selina steals Supergirl's boyfriend, the ultimate insult, yes, but she was trying her luck on Ethan the gardener before he was even dating Supergirl. So yes, another huge coincidence, yeah. And yes, Supergirl is mortified, when she's about to be sent to the Phantom Zone. She's mortified. Oh no, Ethan, don't do it. Don't fall in love with Selina. No, you're my boyfriend. Wait a minute, Ethan isn't her boyfriend, is he? I mean, he only fell in love with her because he was under the trance, under the love spell. Yeah. Okay, so in other words, Ethan's put in a trance. So he falls in love with Supergirl by magic, created by Selina. And then when the spell wears off, you guessed it, he falls in love with her for real. How long does it take Ethan to fall in love with Supergirl for real? About 5 seconds. And how long does it take him to work out that Supergirl and Linda Lee are one and the same? About 1 second. So, it's very strange. That's very rushed. I know we need to keep the story moving, but there's very rushed bits and other bits that are very slow. Oh, it takes us so long to find the Omega Hedron, yeah. So, and also, Peter Cook, who plays Nigel, he helps Selina send Supergirl to the Phantom Zone, but then he says, "Murder? Are you suggesting murder? No, I'm not going to kill her. No way." Wait a minute. You have no qualms about taking over the world, but you're reluctant to commit murder. Well, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. Okay, some good things about the film. Supergirl does deliver in special effects. Some of the best flying sequences I've ever seen in a movie. That's really well done, yeah. And when Supergirl ends up in the Phantom Zone, she sees Zoltar there. And it's a perfect way to, because in every great action film, you have to show a hero at their lowest point, when things are at their worst. Well, the Phantom Zone certainly captures that. Yeah, we see what a desolate, grim, horrible, murky place it is, yeah. In fact, it's so awful that, yes, the great Zoltar, the one that founded Argo City, he's given up all hope. So Supergirl has to give him the motivation speech, yeah. They have to go through like this maelstrom thing, like a space vortex, through a tunnel, and Supergirl doesn't have her powers here, so one mistake and she's dead. And Zoltar ends up dead in the process, but then that, again, gives Supergirl the motive to win. Yes, don't let his death be for nothing. And she flies after Selina out of the Phantom Zone through a mirror. Why through a mirror? Is there like a portal in the mirror that leads directly into the Phantom Zone? It doesn't clearly specify. No explanation for that. No, she just flies out of the mirror. And then, oh yes, the big climax at the end of the film is Supergirl has to fight this evil demon from hell, or Power of Shadow, as Selina calls it. Now, how does this monster how does it move? Yeah, do we have a stop-motion animatronic puppet or something? No, this is what the demon looks like. It looks like this. This is how it moves. It goes... And I'm not exaggerating. That is the full extent of the movement. You'd have thought with all these advanced, such a big budget, they'd have, a brilliant animated model. But no, it's just a terrible, very non-convincing glove puppet. It's appalling. And the sad thing is, halfway through the film, technically she fights the demon twice. Halfway through them, she fights the demon when it's invisible. Well, it looked a lot more convincing invisible than it did when we actually saw what it looked like. Yeah, it's a disappointing monster at the end, yeah. And, there is one joke that is a half-decent gag. Halfway through the film, Supergirl fights the demon when it's invisible, comes back to her dorm, and her landlady tells her off for not wearing her proper school uniform. Yes, get out of that ridiculous costume now. Behave yourself. I've just saved the world from a disaster, and you're telling me off about my clothes. So, okay, I'll let them have that. That's a funny gag, yeah. And something else that I find unbelievable. I can believe Supergirl can fly in the sky. I can believe laser beams come out of her eyes and she has super hearing and all that. The thing I find hard to believe is this. Nobody notices Supergirl. Nobody is aware she exists on planet Earth. Okay, her closest friends that she's made on the planet, they saw her, but they promised not to tell anyone they saw her. Wait a minute, she flies and stops that construction vehicle when it attacks Ethan. She does that in broad daylight, loads of witnesses everywhere. She does her superpowers and flies. How's anybody not going to notice that? That's crazy, yeah. In other words, Supergirl, it had potential. The movie had great potential. Just a few bits and bobs that could have been tidied up a bit, yeah. And Helen Slater had to carry the whole movie on her own, you know. So she does a very good job, yeah. It would have been better if she had a bit more help from other Kryptonians, but yes, she carries the movie well. In other words, yes, Supergirl 1984 movie had potential, but needed some tidying up. Things about it could have been a really good movie, yeah. But Supergirl is still in our culture. There's a modern day action figure of Supergirl here. And of course the TV show, which is very good indeed. Ultimately necessary they made this. I always knew the Supergirl character had potential. Well, we see her full potential in this. They drop the cheese. They make the cheesiness down to a minimum and concentrate on the action and the issues and characterization. So yes, for me the TV show is like the improved version of the movie, yeah. In other words, Supergirl the movie has potential, so check it out. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.